So Cal said, all right, I'll go to Arkansas where they love basketball. I'll build it up from scratch. I think there's one player left from the roster a year ago. So Matt McCall, Cal remains in the league. You know him well. You were on staffs with Billy D when you went up against John Calipari. You always told me that he treated you really, really well over the years. What do you make of him settling into his new digs at Fayetteville this season?
First of all, I can't believe T.O. just shed his sweatshirt there. He was rocking like the UMass maroon color.
I'm out here cooking, baby.
Where he got his first.
He's ready for the season. He's getting hot. Yeah. He's getting steamed up. He's ready.
Getting a little warm.
I got 15 minutes of warm up in. I'm good to go now, McCall.
Okay.
Don't you worry your little heart. I'm ready to talk about some slobber and hog over there in Arkansas. That's what I'm ready to talk about. Some slobber and hog.
Isn't it so weird to see this guy?
For those who don't know what I'm talking about, they put a slobber and hog at midcourt. So don't look at me like I'm crazy. This was a topic of conversation wherever the hell they are. So don't look at me like I'm crazy. There's a slobber and hog, and it was a point of emphasis to get that slobber and hog back down there at the midline, shooting jumpers from a slobber and hog. Next question. Sorry, go ahead, McCall.
I'm not even getting into the slobber and hog, Childress. I'm gonna let that go. T.O. took care of that. It's just so it's still strange to see him in a different color other than blue than white, right? Because he hasn't been at UMass since 1996, and even when he was coaching at Memphis, he was in blue and white. Even when he was then goes to Kentucky, he's in blue and white. Now to see him in the red, but sometimes you can stay at a place too long, and maybe that's what he needed. Maybe he needed a fresh start. Look, the guy's in the Naismith Hall of Fame. He knows how to coach. I do like his roster. I also think DJ Wagner needed a fresh start. I mean, he's playing with Reed Sheppard and Dillingham last year, who are both terrific players, both now in the NBA. And now he's got an opportunity and a chance to kind of put his stamp on a new program. And sometimes there's something to be said about a fresh start. My whole thing with Arkansas this year is, where will they be defensively? Because even the last 3 years, Cal's teams have always averaged over 80 points per game. The problem last year was defensively, they ranked 340th in the country in total defense. We saw them try to guard pick and rolls a variety of different ways. What are they going to do on that end of the floor to basically be effective, which was a struggle last year? And, who's playing the 5 spot? How are they guarding these ball screens? But I think it's good that everybody gets a fresh start, including John Calipari, who has won a gazillion games. He's still doing it. You can see he seems refreshed in this new spot, and I'm anxious to see him. I mean, I love John L. Davis from FAU. You look at all the guys that were at FAU last year that were dealing with some of those expectations. He was the guy that was the most consistent. Didn't play great in the exhibition against Kansas, but he's a guy that you can put the ball in his hands and he can go get a bucket. So, look, I'm happy for Cal. Childress, you mentioned it. He was great to me during my time at UMass. So, I'm looking forward to watching this Arkansas team play.
Randolph, from your perspective, being a coach and being on staffs in the past, John Calipari, the basketball job, the college basketball world has changed completely in the last 3-4 years with the NIL and the collective and the way we build rosters. And certainly there's been a lot of coaches from an old era that said, I'm done. Screw it. I don't want it anymore. Tony Bennett being the most notable recently. How do you feel Calipari fits into this world with his ability to adjust? He's always been a guy that kind of did things his way and had a Calipari method, and it worked really well. Do you think he'll eventually adjust to a championship level at Arkansas?
I think he's as equipped as anyone. I mean, with the one and dones that he's recruited and the players he always has, I mean, I don't think this is a concern with him. I think the question he would go off, the question people would ask him and he would have to bounce off is, how do you retain some experience, or how do you get some transfers in and get some experience when you go out to so many young guys? And he did that with John L. Davis coming in. He brought in a guy to come in with Boogie Flan. You got these younger guards. I think they're loaded. I think they have guys from Jonas Adu, who we know is a rim protector, can finish inside. I think they have size, they have length, they have shot makers, shot creators off the bounce. Um, I think Cal's got a chip on his shoulder, man. I think he's just letting everybody else know. You guys, he's. I would bet he won't. I don't know if he'd acknowledge this right away. He's as motivated as he's ever been, and you best believe he can't wait to stick it to Kentucky and everyone else who kind of doubted him, because everybody was on his ass last year, the last couple years, and he made the change. Look what he's done. Players left, came with him. I wouldn't be surprised at all. This team will be right there challenging. They're talented. They're depth. They have everything you want. I think they're kind of, as crazy as it sounds, outside of it being John Calipari, I think you take for granted the talent that he's collected right here. And there's a mixture here. There's a good mixture. This isn't all freshman guys. He's very, very talented, and he has the right mixture of freshmen and experienced guys that can make a run. So this Arkansas team wins the league, it wouldn't surprise me.
Terrence, I feel like I've heard this before about Calipari teams recently, how he's incredible about bringing guys in and getting them together and blah, blah, blah. And the results just haven't been there. So are you in accord with Randolph that all is well, or do you think John's lost a fastball?
He hasn't lost his fastball because he never changed his fastball. It's been the fastball. The fastball is the fastball. He's staying with the fastball. That's what he's doing. And his fastball is getting the best players every year out of the high school class that he can get. That's his fastball. What he has done this year is he's bringing in some older pieces. I think holding on to Trayvon Brazil, who I think is super talented, just got hurt last year. He has all the tools that you would ever need at 6'10". But there's a couple of things, like Boogie Fland's as good as advertised. And I'm not sure he's going to have a Reed Shepherd type year, but he's a little bigger. He's athletic. He gets to spots. He's really, really good. And I think the biggest point here, guys, Zvonimir Ivisic, like, he was practicing with the team. He didn't really even get to go until like January. I don't know the exact date. You're going to have to fact check me there. But still, like, he didn't get to play a whole season. Now he's there a whole summer. That changes things for me because we saw what his potential was and his talent was in small spurts. Now we're going to be able to get it from the very beginning of the season. I think that's going to be a massive thing. And you look up and down that roster, I love the mix of older talent with freshman super talent, if you will. The big question for a lot of people is like, what kind of DJ Wagner are we going to get? Like, because DJ Wagner was this highly touted kid. He was number one in the class. Now, given it was a bad class, I think everybody's pretty transparent in saying that. It wasn't a normal class, but he was up there in the top 5 no matter who you talk to. I think people expected a lot more. Played really well in that opening scrimmage or exhibition. I don't know what to call them. Scrimmages, open exhibitions. People are there.
Don't get me started on like the scrimmages and the secret scrimmages and like, is it
well,
exhibition?
It wasn't a secret because I saw it.
But it's never a secret because everybody releases the box score anyway. So there's no secret.
Yeah, and I think there were people there, and people were fired up about both Calipari, all of his chicken money, and a slobbering hog, and then they got to see DJ Wagner play well. So, like, people are fired up. It's a really good team. And you talked about what can they do defensively. The potential is certainly there. And I think you have size behind those young guards that they can rely on a little bit, especially early. But, like, you look at some of these different pieces, whether it's, Billy Richmond didn't score, but he's this big, rangy kid athlete. Trayvon Brazil, super rangy athlete, shot blocker. You look up and down, how fast can they put those things together? And while Kentucky with Calipari was very vanilla sometimes offensively, Cal has shown to be a really good in-game adjuster. So I think, like, you're going to be able to see some of the best of what he's got to offer. And minor note here. Kenny Payne was a horrendous head coach. He's one of the best assistant coaches that college basketball has seen in the last 30 years. He's back on the sidelines with Cal. And I think that's something that we can't overlook, his impact of keeping guys together as far as from a culture perspective and just calming guys down, because I think people can get pent up playing for Cal. Kenny Payne's a solid pillow there to go back to in his office and, like, talk guys down. So I think that was a massive addition to his staff, getting Kenny back in the fold.
Definitely a great assistant coach who's probably appreciative to be back with John Calipari.